Hello and welcome to Spano on Sports. I'm Joe Spano. I couldn't think of a better topic for the debut video of Spano on Sports than a recap of the biggest winners from the 2021 NFL Draft. And boy, it wasn't easy narrowing that list down to just four, because that's what the final list is, four biggest winners. It wasn't easy because so many teams, despite the unprecedented circumstances that these teams were dealing with this year in the draft, did a tremendous job navigating the minefield that is the NFL Draft, whether it be the New York Jets and the work they did, not only securing what in their eyes is their franchise quarterback, also getting him weapons to help him hit the ground running and getting him support up front to protect him. Tremendous job by the Jets. Their trade partner in the first round of the draft, the Minnesota Vikings, they did a tremendous job. They traded back and got the guy they would have wanted before they traded back, got extra picks for their trouble, and helped fill out their roster and helped address multiple needs. And they got value all over the board. So they did a tremendous job. The Los Angeles Chargers, another team that did a tremendous job, getting a building block to protect Justin Herbert, their young quarterback, getting weapons and pieces all over the field to put them back into contention in what's becoming a very, very competitive AFC West. You look at the Chiefs. They made it all the way to the Super Bowl. They didn't have a lot of needs, but they had one fatal flaw. It was that offensive line. And boy, did they address that in spades. They did a great job. The Ravens, as always, did a great job. I mean, there's so many teams that did a wonderful job in this 2021 draft that narrowing it down to just four biggest winners wasn't easy. But that was the task I undertook, and that's what we got, and that's what we're going to go over in this video. Now, you may not agree with all of these, and I'm sure you won't. And feel free to leave comments, and I'll address those, or hit me up on Twitter at JoeSpano56, and we can discuss this video and discuss my rationale further on why I thought these teams were the biggest winners. And I'm going to start right out of the box with the team that had the number one overall pick in the 2021 draft, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you get a quarterback that is one for the ages, and that is the highest-rated quarterback coming into the draft since Andrew Luck, when you get a quarterback of that level in the draft, you are automatically one of the biggest winners in that year's draft. So for me, regardless of what you think of the rest of Urban Meyer's first draft running the Jacksonville Jaguars, the fact that you got Trevor Lawrence automatically makes them one of the biggest winners. No doubt in my mind. And again, you can pick apart their draft. Maybe you think Travis Etienne is a reach. Maybe you think Walker Little, the tackle, is a reach. Maybe you think Tyson Campbell, the corner from Georgia, is a reach. And I happen to think both Walker Little and Tyson Campbell are reaches. Etienne, not so much. Back of the first round, a running back that can not only run the football, is extremely explosive, a big play machine, and is also a factor in the passing game. To me, back end of the first round, that's not a reach. You got to help your young quarterback. And that's exactly what Travis Etienne will do. You know, you then go through the rest of their draft. They didn't do a great job necessarily getting value. They've got some guys that have potential to be big-time steals at the back of the draft, but I don't think they necessarily did a great job of getting value. And if you took Trevor Lawrence out of this draft, or it was another quarterback that wasn't quite this highly rated, I don't think Jacksonville Jaguars and Urban Meyer would be one of the biggest winners in this 2021 draft. They might actually be one of your bigger losers. But the realities are, when you get a once-in-a-generation quarterback at the top of your draft, again, I can't stress this enough, highest graded quarterback coming into the draft since Andrew Luck. When you get that level of talent with your first-round draft pick, number one overall, you are automatically one of the biggest winners in the NFL draft. There's no question in my mind. You then have to move to New England, who got their quarterback of the future. He doesn't have nearly as high a ceiling as Trevor Lawrence, but he has a very high floor, and you didn't have to trade up to get this quarterback. You believe he's a good fit for what you want to do, and you think you will be able to groom him, surround him with pieces, and have success with this quarterback. Everybody thought this was a guy that could go at number 3 in Mac Jones. And you end up sitting there doing nothing at 15, not trading away any assets in the 2021 draft or future drafts, and you get your man. When you do that, you automatically win in my mind because you got a quarterback who could potentially be a future franchise quarterback that has a high floor. I don't know that he really has the ceiling to be a superstar quarterback, but if you like him for your system and you didn't have to trade away assets to get him and you just sat there and caught him at 15, to me, that right there puts you in the running to be one of the biggest winners in this NFL draft. Then when you look at the rest of their draft and you see the value they got throughout this draft, getting Christian Barmore, who many thought would go in the middle or back of the first round, top of the second round, Ronnie Perkins in the third round. There's a guy that was moving up draft boards. Here's a guy who's really good coming off the edge and rushing the passer, but also does a good job of setting the edge in a run game. So, you got impact players in round 2 and 3 and got value in addition to getting your next starting quarterback and potentially a franchise quarterback. You brought in Ramondre Stevenson out of Oklahoma, and you throw him in that running back mix, which has a lot of pieces and not necessarily a star. And in Ramondre Stevenson, you get a guy with a different style than the rest of those running backs. And then from there, they got some other pieces. No real huge reaches, no real great values. But when you look at their first 5 rounds of this draft, I think they really did an exceptional job. And the fact that the quarterback fell in their laps and they didn't have to give any future assets away, to me, that is a huge win. So when you look at the entire body of work for the New England Patriots, and for all the reasons I laid out, they're one of your 4 biggest winners in this 2021 NFL draft. Next on the list, the Cleveland Browns. With them, they didn't get their franchise quarterback because they already got their franchise quarterback. They didn't have anything extremely special necessarily fall in their lap in round 1. They just addressed needs without reaching. They got value with every pick, and they got guys with tremendously high upsides. Whether it's Greg Newsome, the corner out of Northwestern in round 1, JOK at pick number 52 in the second round. Here was a guy that so many draft experts were forecasting as somebody who was going to get picked in the teens or perhaps the early 20s in the first round. You get him at 52. And he is a classic example of today's new breed of linebacker. He can cover tight ends. He can cover running backs. He's small, but in today's pass-happy NFL, that's okay. You put it on you bring it in a talent that can be an all-pro for years. Now it's on your defensive coordinator to find a role and to find situations that fit this Swiss Army knife and this unique talent. But you got a unique talent that was drafted probably 35 spots after anybody thought he was going to be drafted. And you got him, and he fell right to you. You didn't have to trade up. You didn't have to do anything. You sat there and caught him. So you got value in round 2, a potential all-pro difference-making player on your defense in round 2. You got a potential difference maker, and you added a piece to your secondary, a secondary that was decimated by injuries last year. You added a quality piece that's going to provide competition, depth, and you can never have enough corners in this pass-happy league, and you got a good one who's versatile, scheme versatile, has quality athletic traits, can run, and it's a piece that you needed. So you address a position of depth. You don't reach. You get a guy that has high upside and all the athletic traits you want and scheme versatility. In Anthony Schwartz in round 3, you got a slot receiver with home run potential, ton of speed. This is the fastest guy this is the fastest receiver in the draft. He's a true track guy. James Hudson, the tackle out of Cincinnati in round 4. Good value there. Developmental tackle. Another piece for your future on the offensive line. And then you go to the back of the draft. There's value all over that draft. Tommy Togai, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. another piece for that defensive line. Demetric Felton at the end of round 6, the running back / wide receiver out of UCLA. He's just a weapon. He was proficient as a running back in college. He was proficient as a wide receiver in college. He did a great job at playing wide receiver at the Senior Bowl. So he's a weapon. You know, I understand you don't need another running back in Cleveland. You got that great two-headed running back attack of Chubb and Hunt. But here's a guy who can spell those two. If there's an injury, he could spend some time in the backfield. He's also a guy that could be another piece in that slot receiver sweepstakes. So I liked that pick as well. And again, another value. Here's a guy most people thought coming into the draft was going to be picked somewhere around round 4. And you got him in round 6, near the end of round 6, as a matter of fact. So, again, a great job by the Cleveland Browns of getting guys that address need, have high upside, and getting value all over their draft board. So, for all those reasons, I think the Cleveland Browns are one of the 4 biggest winners in the 2021 NFL Draft. And last but not least, my beloved New York Football Giants. And the biggest reason that they're one of the biggest winners is not only for the guys they drafted in 2021, but for all the draft capital they acquired in a loaded 2022 draft. You see, unlike normal years in the NFL draft, future draft picks carry as much, if not more, weight in this draft than the current year's picks. And that's unusual. Usually, future year draft picks are kind of discounted. Not this year. Because next year, we probably will be returning to a sense of normalcy, which means you'll have a combine, you'll have pro days, you'll have those earlier medicals. So these teams will have a lot more information on these guys than they had this year, which to me makes those 2022 draft picks, that future draft capital, even more valuable. And the Giants loaded up on that future draft capital. They got a first from the Bears, and that first could be a very high draft pick because the Bears are going to be breaking in a rookie quarterback. They got a 2022 third from the Dolphins and a 2022 fourth from the Bears. So they're going to have 2 firsts, a second, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh in a loaded 2022 draft and also a draft where we're going to have more information on these guys than we had this year. We're not going to have to deal with these unique circumstances. We're going to be back to normal in that regard, most likely. Plus, it's even more loaded than this draft. By all accounts, that 2022 draft is absolutely, positively loaded. So, for that reason alone, the Giants are, in my mind, one of your 4 biggest winners. But then you combine it with getting, after being jumped by the Eagles, who trade in front of them to take their original target in Devonta Smith, you adjust, you trade back with the Bears, and you get another weapon for your quarterback, who's in a prove-it year. Because after this year, you got to decide if you're going to pick up his 5th-year option and if he's going to be your future franchise quarterback. So you get him yet another weapon in Kadarius Toney at 20. Some people thought this was a little bit of a reach, and at first glance, I was one of them. But after going deeper into his tape, watching a review of him as a player from Nate Burleson, and hearing Urban Meyer say, I was heartbroken when the Giants took him, and I'm paraphrasing here, because if he was there at 25, we were going to take him. So you traded back. No, you didn't get Devonta Smith, but you got all that future draft capital, and you brought in a player that's a great fit for what you want to do, a complementary piece. He's a style of receiver you don't have amongst your weapons. So you add this weapon in round 1. A good, solid pick at 20, plus you pick up all that draft capital. Then at 50, Azeez Ojulari, who many would have been pleased and thought the Giants would take either at 11 or more likely trade back, say, with the Bears at 20 and take Ojulari there. They don't take him at 20. They take Toney. And then they trade back again in the second round with the Dolphins to get that future third, and Ojulari drops to them at 50. So you get first-round talent. A case can be made that he's the best 3-4 edge in this class, and he's certainly one of the top 3 edges in this class, and you got him in the second round, and he's a perfect scheme fit. He is a perfect scheme fit for that Patrick Graham defense. You then trade up in round 3, and you grab Aaron Robinson, the slot corner, big slot corner from Central Florida, and add yet another piece to what is becoming one of the best secondaries in the league. You get Ellerson Smith, another edge, at a spot of major weakness in round 4. And then you round it out from there, Gary Brightwell, to throw into that running back mix behind Saquon Barkley, but a guy who's going to be a major asset on special teams. And then Greedy Williams' older brother, Rodarius Williams. Outside boundary corner, good size, good production, will be old when he comes in, but you got him at the back of round 6. In most mocks that I saw, this was a guy that was a round 4 type guy. So you got value. You filled most of your needs. The glaring one you didn't fill was offensive line, but you didn't reach to fill it, and there's still undrafted free agents and, what's remaining in the scrap heap in free agency. So to me, you pick up all that draft capital, and you generally have an above-average draft anyway. When you combine all that together, the Giants are one of the 4 biggest winners in the 2021 NFL Draft. Well, that wraps up biggest winners 2021 NFL Draft. So if you like that video, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Make sure that you get notifications when more videos are coming out, because not long after this one comes out, we're going to have a video on biggest losers in the 2021 NFL Draft. So you're going to want to hit that like button. You're going to want to hit that subscribe bell, and you're going to want to make sure you find out what's coming up next here on Spano on Sports. We'll see you on the next one.